"Sir, you must relocate to seat 32B," the flight attendant declared, her voice sharp and resolute. "A family longs to be united in their shared space, and your seat stands as the solitary option available for this heartfelt gathering." The elderly gentleman lifted his gaze from the comfort of his aisle seat, a choice he had made with care and at a premium months prior, all due to a service-related injury that had marked his past. "I reserved this for medical reasons," he murmured, yet she remained unmoved. "Should you remain still, the doors shall remain ajar forever unsealed." Thus he rose, limping down the aisle, and took his solitary seat amidst two unfamiliar faces engulfed in anguish. After a suspenseful 9 minutes, the cockpit door swung open and the captain emerged with an air of authority. What he did next transformed the very essence of that flight for all eternity. Welcome to Great Man, a realm where the heart's most profound tales of compassion and kindness unfold before your very eyes. Let us delve into the depths of truth and reveal the hidden narrative that unfolded. The early boarding call resonated through the vast expanse of Terminal C at Denver International Airport. A clarion summons that stirred the air with anticipation. At the break of dawn, just shy of 6:30, John Delaney occupied his place at Gate 27, having been there for more than an hour. His hands were neatly folded, his posture impeccably upright, exuding a serene stillness that could only be cultivated through the passage of time and unwavering discipline. At 78, John embodied the essence of age, clad in a soft tan jacket that whispered of days gone by, black slacks that spoke of quiet dignity, and worn-out walking shoes that had traversed countless paths. Yet if you observed him closely, you would discern the limp, subtle yet unmistakable emanating from his left knee, rigid and unyielding. This was not the weariness of age, but the haunting mark of battle. 3 months prior, John had secured his place on this flight. He embarked on a journey from the rugged landscapes of Rock Springs, Wyoming, destined for the historic shores of Annapolis, Maryland, to witness the momentous occasion of his granddaughter's graduation from the U.S., the esteemed Naval Academy. For the first time in our family's history, someone has donned the uniform after him. He was resolute in his determination to be there, which is precisely why he had splurged from his limited pension for the coveted seat, 14C, an aisle seat in premium economy. It offered just the right amount of leg room to alleviate the strain on his aching knee. Not a mere indulgence, but an essential comfort. He stepped aboard with the grace of a seasoned traveler adhering to his designated boarding group. There was no commotion, no grand gestures, only a soft, sincere thank you offered to the gate agent, and a firm grip on the rail as he glided down the jet bridge. As he approached his seat, he descended with deliberate grace, tucking his modest duffel bag beneath the seat ahead of him, and let out a deep breath. It was a fleeting moment of exquisite relief. That was prior to the tumultuous upheaval that ensued. 3 rows ahead, a figure gestured fervently to a flight attendant, a woman in her 30s, clad in a crisp uniform, her practiced smile radiating professionalism. Upon her chest, the name tag boldly proclaimed Sophie. With a graceful lean, she engaged in conversation with a passenger, her brow furrowing as she tapped her tablet before finally pivoting to face another direction. With unwavering determination, she strode directly toward John. "Pardon me, sir." She declared, her voice a gentle yet resolute whisper. Are you nestled in the embrace of 14C? John lifted his gaze, a single nod punctuating the air with a quiet affirmation. Indeed, my lady. With a graceful bend, Sophie lowered herself to meet his gaze, her smile unwavering and radiant. A family torn apart in the midst of their journey, a mother accompanied by her two tender-hearted children, now finds themselves adrift during the booking process. They find themselves arranged in 3 distinct rows. Your seat, along with the 2 adjacent to it, stands as the sole sanctuary where they may unite in companionship. John's brow knitted in a subtle display of concern. This is the seat that has been designated for me. In a bid to secure my plans ahead of time, I made the reservation early, driven by the shadows of a service-connected knee injury that loomed over me. Sophie's smile remained unwavering, yet a moment of hesitation lingered in the air. Indeed, I comprehend, sir. Your cooperation is truly valued and deeply appreciated. This is merely for the duration of this flight. John reclined, a moment of stillness enveloping him. The silence between them hung in the air, taut and fragile. He was not attempting to be obstinate. Rather, he had meticulously selected this very seat and invested in it, for to choose otherwise would spell 5 hours of torment. He cast a fleeting gaze toward the front of the plane. The mother, cradling her toddler in her arms, stood resolutely in the aisle, flanked by 2 other children who lingered close by. Then he cast his gaze upon his own hands, marked by scars, yet unwavering. What other path lies before us? He inquired softly, his voice barely a whisper. With a swift motion, Sophie's finger danced across the screen once more. We are pleased to present to you the exquisite seat 32B. It lies even deeper in the shadows. The middle row. John's eyes widened in surprise, a fleeting moment of disbelief washing over him. The dreaded middle seat. Indeed, sir. It stands alone, the last seat untouched, waiting in silence. He remained silent, words unspoken, a heavy stillness enveloping the air. Allow the information to take root and find its place within you. Seat 32B was a cruel confinement, a claustrophobic embrace with no room to breathe, wedged between 2 unfamiliar souls, perilously close to the lavatories in the tempest of turbulence. He was intimately familiar with the layout, every twist and turn etched in his mind. With a calm yet resolute demeanor, John expressed his regret. I'm sorry, but I truly cannot remain seated back there. Alas, my leg shall not endure the trials of this flight. Sophie's smile waned ever so slightly. I comprehend your position, sir, she declared, her voice steady yet urgent. But it is imperative that we seat this family together. Should you decide against moving, we might find ourselves unable to depart as scheduled. And there it stood, the ominous suggestion that he would be the one to delay the flight. John cast a sweeping gaze across the surroundings. Other passengers began to cast their curious gazes upon the unfolding scene. The neighboring rows fell into a hushed stillness. He sensed the change, the heavy burden of 100 unspoken judgments pressing down upon him. An elderly man steadfast in his refusal to assist a weary mother burdened with her children embodies the essence of selfishness, creating a palpable tension in the air. A dilemma unfolds. His jaw clenched with intensity. He lifted his gaze to meet Sophie's eyes. "This is utterly unacceptable," he declared in a hushed tone. With a poised demeanor, she acknowledged, "I shall take note of that, sir, yet I must insist on a decision." A complete breath lingered in the air. With deliberate slowness, John unbuckled his seatbelt. He ascended with a rigid grace, his fingers clutching the headrest as if it were his only anchor in a tumultuous sea. In a voice that resonated with authority yet remained composed, he declared, "The name's John Delaney, Staff Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. In my retirement, I wish to emphasize that I relinquished a seat essential for my health, compelled by external forces." With a subtle nod, Sophie beckoned the family to advance, her gesture imbued with an unspoken urgency. As John collected his bag and strode down the aisle, the toddler gazed up at him, a radiant smile illuminating their face. He bestowed upon the boy a soft, reassuring nod. Neither bitterness nor theatrics, only a profound sense of acceptance. Seat 32B unfolded before him just as he had envisioned, tight and cramped, a battleground of space wedged between a college kid lost in his music and a businessman already asserting dominance over the armrest with a fierce determination. The overhead light hung in silence, its shattered remnants casting shadows of despair upon the room. The air was tinged with the sharp scent of cleaning fluid, mingling with the lingering aroma of stale coffee. John descended with deliberate care, a grimace etching across his face as his knee contorted beyond its natural limits. He uttered not a word, merely allowing his hands to rest upon his lap as he surrendered to the stillness, his eyes gently closing in a moment of profound silence. He slipped through the crowd, a shadow among the vibrant throng, unnoticed and unseen. Not a single soul extended a hand of assistance. Silence enveloped the room as if the very air held its breath. Yet a pair of eyes lingered, observing intently from 3 rows ahead across the aisle. A woman in her 40s sat in serene silence. She had stepped aboard the vessel just moments before John did. With a laptop resting gracefully in her lap, a blazer lies folded with precision beside her. She had listened to every whisper, observed every fleeting moment, and now she observed him curled within that constricted seat, the creases on his visage more pronounced than ever. With a swift motion, she grasped her phone, not for the sake of posting or lamenting, but to reach out to a friend, a confidant who navigated the intricate world of customer relations at the airline. Her message was brief yet impactful. Passenger John Delaney tragically compelled to relinquish his coveted aisle seat 14C, despite having a confirmed booking and a pressing medical necessity. Now ensconced in seat 32B on flight 306, the crew's indifference is palpable. Kindly elevate this matter to the appropriate level of urgency. With a decisive tap, she hit send, then placed the phone down, her gaze drifting out the window, lost in thought. She stood at the precipice of uncertainty, unaware of the fate that awaited her. Yet there were instances when your voice broke the silence, when you took action even in the absence of others. John Delaney remained motionless in seat 32B, his hands elegantly folded over his stomach, shoulders tightly drawn in as if bracing against the weight of the world. The middle seat enveloped you in a sense of diminishment, yet this sensation transcended mere smallness. It was as if you were fading into nothingness. Every few minutes a sharp throb pulsed through his knee, a relentless reminder of its torment. He moved with a subtle grace, just enough to prevent the pain from seizing hold of him. Yet there remained no path to tread. His left leg was uncomfortably wedged against the seat back before him, a silent testament to the cramped confines of the moment. There exists neither space to stretch nor a passage to lean into. The college student to his right remained ensconced in his headphones, utterly absorbed in a cinematic world of his own. The businessman on the left furiously tapped away on his laptop, his elbow encroaching into John's territory as if he were the rightful ruler of the realm. Silence enveloped the room, a heavy shroud of unspoken words lingering in the air. Not a single gaze was exchanged. John was not consumed by anger. Rather, he was enveloped in a profound weariness. He had traversed the years gaining wisdom in the art of inconvenience. It was not a novel experience. 3 rows ahead, the woman in the blazer Emily Hayes observed with a keen glance from the periphery of her vision. She had yet to lift the lid of her laptop once more. Instead, she observed the old man, the cabin alive with a vibrant hum around him. Her gaze fell upon his hands, the thick knuckles telling tales of strength, while one finger slightly bent to the side hinted at a story untold, not due to the passage of time, but rather the consequence of a wound. They lay upon his lap motionless like a statue, embodying an eerie stillness. Yet the tension within them was undeniable, as if he were grappling with a tempest of emotions, rage perhaps, or sorrow, or simply the weight of anticipation. As the flight attendants glided through the cabin for their final inspections, not a single gaze fell upon him. Not a word of remorse nor a hint of recognition, only a curt nod and a swift pull on the overhead bin before they continued on their way. Emily felt her phone vibrate insistently in her palm. A response has been delivered. Escalating this to operations, this is simply intolerable. We shall inform the cabin should the situation escalate. Though her expectations were modest, she summoned the courage to take a step forward. The cabin doors shut with a resounding thunk echoing through the air. With a commanding presence, the safety briefing commenced, capturing the attention of all in attendance. John reclined, his eyes closed, enveloped in the resonant symphony of the engine's hum. The pre-flight video droned on monotonously, detailing the importance of oxygen masks, the fastening of seat belts, and the proper positioning of tray tables. Yet all John could perceive was the soft pulsation of recollection, akin to a far-off engine echoing from a time long past. The echo of boots striking the jungle floor reverberates through the dense foliage. A young man's voice pierced the air, calling out desperately for a corpsman. As the searing pain coursed through him, his knee crumbled beneath the relentless onslaught, and he shifted once more, a sharp wince escaping his lips. His hand reached out, seeking the familiar edge of the armrest, only to discover it was a phantom absent from reality. The businessman's elbow lingered steadfast and unyielding. John remained silent, his lips sealed in a heavy stillness. In the cockpit, Captain Michael Miller deftly adjusted his headset, a subtle yet commanding gesture that signaled his readiness for the unfolding drama of the skies. A veteran of the skies with 23 years of dedicated service in the Air Force and an impressive 11,000 flight hours logged in the pursuit of excellence. A man of unwavering precision, his habits forged in the fires of steel. With a commanding voice, his co-pilot meticulously recited the pre-flight checks while ground control granted them the exhilarating permission to ascend into the skies. In that moment, his console burst into a brilliant glow. A crimson alert, a passenger's worry brought to light by the corporate envoy, his brow knitted in deep contemplation. With a decisive flick of his finger, he tapped the screen. Passenger John Delaney aboard Flight TC-306, a veteran, was unjustly compelled from his medically essential seat. There, beneath it all, a name emerged that stirred a familiar echo within him. Emily Hayes, esteemed member of the Diamond Elite, serving as a distinguished advisor on the Public Relations Board. He blinked. Delaney. The name struck him with the force of a lightning bolt. He pivoted in his seat, a sudden movement that drew attention. "Stop the taxi," he commanded. His co-pilot cast a glance, eyes wide with astonishment. Captain, yet Michael was already in the midst of unbuckling. "Stay right where you are. I shall return in 3 moments." He glided into the slender corridor that lay behind the cockpit, casting a subtle signal to the lead flight attendant, who promptly ushered the passenger from seat 14C. The attendant, a seasoned woman named Rebecca, paused momentarily, her finger gesturing toward the shadows at the back. A man was uprooted from his home to make way for a family in need. He resides in 32B. Michael inclined his head with a single decisive nod. Neither anger nor judgment shall cloud our path. Only a steadfast resolve remains. With a deliberate motion, he adjusted the cuffs of his uniform, meticulously smoothing the gold stripes that adorned his shoulders, before setting forth with purpose. It was Emily who first laid eyes upon him. The whole cabin appeared to awaken, acutely aware of the palpable change in energy as the cockpit door swung open. With a collective shift, the passengers turned their phones, descending like fallen leaves in a quiet autumn breeze. Michael Miller's presence did not clamor for attention. It has rightfully claimed its place, each step calculated and deliberate. With eyes sweeping the surroundings, he remained composed and intent until he came to a halt. As he cast his gaze downward from row 32, a profound moment unfolded. John Delaney sat, his eyes barely open, as if caught between the realms of wakefulness and slumber. Awash in surprise by the abrupt silhouette, he lifted his gaze and became utterly still. The captain loomed majestically, clad in a pristine uniform adorned with flight bars and gleaming silver wings. In a moment of unwavering resolve, Captain Michael Miller lifted his right hand, delivering a salute that was both sharp and dignified. A palpable shift enveloped the cabin, transforming the very atmosphere around them. It was Emily who sensed it first, a whisper of something profound stirring within her. The silence enveloped everything, a profound stillness that echoed through the air. John's gaze pierced the man's face, a whirlwind of confusion and uncertainty swirling within him. Staff Sergeant John Delaney, the captain, declared, his voice resonating with clarity and conviction. On behalf of Transcontinental Airlines and as a fellow serviceman, I extend to you my most profound apologies. John blinked. I implore you, it was utterly unwarranted for you to be beckoned from your seat, the captain declared with fervor. It was a grave mistake, and we shall rectify it, the passengers murmured with a sense of urgency. With a deliberate grace, someone lowered their tray table, their gaze fixed intently while Michael turned to face the aisle. Is Ms. Sophie Bennett present in the cabin? The young flight attendant, her complexion ashen, now emerged from the shadows of the galley. Indeed, my esteemed sir or madam. With a sense of duty weighing heavily upon her, Sophie found herself momentarily frozen, grappling with the gravity of the task ahead to personally escort Staff Sergeant Delaney to the esteemed seat 1A. Captain First Class is only available if 1A is occupied. Michael interjected, his voice cutting through the air with urgency. A volunteer shall be summoned forth. Should there be no volunteers, it is imperative to convey that the captain of this aircraft is humbly requesting that seat in honor of a distinguished combat veteran. As John began to ascend, Michael swiftly lifted a hand, halting him in his tracks. We implore you to allow us the opportunity to rectify this matter. We are indebted to you for that much. John sat utterly bewildered. Emily beheld it, the fleeting spark of disbelief intertwined with something deeper recognition. A profound gratitude that lingered in the air. He rose with deliberate grace, each movement measured as his knee trembled ever so slightly beneath him. Yet with a firm yet gentle grip beneath the elbow, Michael anchored him in place. The businessman beside him shifted uncomfortably, an air of tension enveloping the moment. The college student cast aside his headphones, a flicker of shame dancing in his eyes. As they pivoted toward the front of the plane, Michael cast a glance back, his head nodding once in acknowledgement to Emily Hayes, their eyes locking in a moment of silent understanding. Silence enveloped them, a profound understanding lingering in the air, rendering words utterly superfluous. Emily reclined in her seat, her breath suspended in her throat. She found herself grappling with the unsettling truth of her own desires, uncertain which fragment of her soul yearned to witness such a spectacle unfold. Yet she felt an undeniable weight within her chest, a profound stillness that had just taken hold. The kind of resolution that emerges only when justice, long awaited, finally rises to claim its rightful place. As John Delaney made his entrance into the aisle, an undeniable shift occurred. Subtle yet powerful, quietly commanding attention. Individuals stirred their movements, a dance of purpose and intent. The businessman who had previously dismissed him with nary a glance now shifted uncomfortably, his gaze cast downward. The young man in the window seat sprang to his feet with urgency, his voice barely a whisper. "Sir, my apologies, sir." Even though John had made no request, Captain Miller clung to his elbow, unwavering until he found his balance. Then he turned his gaze to Sophie, who remained motionless, caught in a moment halfway down the aisle, her tablet gripped tightly as if it were a protective barrier. "Miss Bennett," he declared with an air of authority, "seat 1A now." "Indeed, Captain," she responded, her voice now a mere whisper, diminished and fragile. With a bold stride, she advanced, taking the lead. John advanced with a deliberate slowness, each step a struggle, his movements stiff and cautious. That knee had been a source of torment for half a century, and it seemed destined to remain so, forever out of alignment with the rhythm of life. Yet now he strode with an air of dignity, and every row he traversed sensed his presence. Passengers pivoted, whispers floated through the air, while others stood in silent observation. In that moment, a middle-aged man, his ball cap resting on his knee, lifted his hand and pressed it against his chest, offering a silent salute that spoke volumes. Emily Hayes remained motionless, her hands delicately folded in her lap, her breath suspended in anticipation. She refrained from reaching for her phone this time. Instead, she simply observed, her eyes brimming with emotion. The plane stood still, yet an undeniable change had taken place. As they arrived at row 1, Sophie came to an abrupt halt. She pivoted to face the passenger comfortably ensconced in 1A, a man clad in a meticulously pressed polo, leisurely sipping from a branded water bottle, utterly unaware of the unfolding drama that swirled behind him. "I beg your pardon, sir," she uttered, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Your seat must be reassigned." The man blinked, a wave of confusion washing over him. "Wait, what is the captain's request?" she inquired, her voice laced with intrigue. He pivoted and beheld John, the faded stripes of the well-worn duffel catching his eye. The lines of time etched into his face, a profound weariness enveloping him. The man nodded a silent agreement, hanging in the air, refraining from any disputes or inquiries. He remained motionless. "Sir," he murmured to John with a reverent tone, "it is truly an honor." John found himself at a loss for words. He lowered his head, a wave of gratitude washing over him. Captain Miller cast his gaze upon Sophie once more. "Had that seat not been granted, I would have reallocated my co-pilot's jump seat," he declared, his voice resonating through the first 6 rows, ensuring all could hear his proclamation. "And if that had not been within reach," he paused, "I would have willingly relinquished my own." Sophie's lips parted ever so slightly, yet silence enveloped her, leaving words unspoken. The declaration was not intended for her ears. The moment was palpable, resonating with every ear present. And indeed, they were all captivated by the unfolding tale. John gracefully descended into the expansive embrace of the luxurious leather seat in 1A. It was more than merely the generous expanse of legroom. It was the very angle of it, the profound silence, the unwavering dignity. The crew presented him with a blanket, a pristine bottle of water, and a heartfelt apology. Yet that was not the force that shattered his spirit. It echoed a haunting melody resonating from the depths of the aisle. A young man loomed tall and imposing in his late 30s, his head shaved to a gleaming finish, clad in casual jeans and a hoodie that whispered of rebellion. His voice trembled as he uttered each word. Staff Sergeant Delaney John pivoted his head with purpose. "I served under your command," the man declared, his voice resonating with the weight of memory, "at Camp Leatherneck in the year 2006. John gazed intently, and then, as if touched by an unseen force, his expression gradually transformed into one of warmth. "Corporal James," the man declared, "you have rescued me from the clutches of fate." We never had the chance to express our gratitude." His voice trembled with emotion. He blinked furiously, words bubbling on his lips, yet he faltered, unable to voice his thoughts. He merely nodded, his chest rising and falling with intensity before sinking back down once more. Silent tears cascaded down his cheeks, tracing a path of sorrow. John averted his gaze, his jaw clenched tightly, yet the stillness enveloping him had shifted once more. This moment was not marked by an awkward hush, but rather by a profound sense of awe. Captain Miller strode into the intercom alcove, deftly adjusted the switch, and with a commanding presence spoke. "Esteemed ladies and gentlemen," his voice resonated throughout the cabin, unwavering and purposeful. "Before we embark on our journey, I must share a brief yet important announcement." Every gaze was drawn, captivated by the moment. Today an era unfolded. A man, a valiant servant of this great nation, bearing both the visible and hidden scars of his sacrifice, was callously requested to relinquish his seat. Not due to an airline's blunder, but rather a policy that elevates convenience above the principles of honor. He lingered in silence. Allow the words to linger in the air. Allow me to elucidate. We shall not ascend into the skies while the specter of injustice lingers silently in our midst. A profound silence enveloped the aircraft. He pressed on, unwavering in his resolve. Staff Sergeant John Delaney stands as a proud veteran of the illustrious United States Marine Corps. He battled fiercely in the tumultuous landscape of Khe Sanh, Vietnam. He has donned the uniform for a span that eclipses the very breaths most of us have taken. He sought no favors, nor did he desire any preferential treatment. He earnestly requested to retain the seat he had reserved, fearing that his leg might seize up from an old service injury. Yet another pulse resonates. We have let him down. Michael's voice, though softened, remained unwavering. Yet we shall never abandon our own, not in the throes of battle, not at an altitude of 30,000 feet. His gaze swept down the aisle, landing upon Emily. To the veterans, their silent tears flowing 2 rows behind her. Toward the passengers who had previously averted their gazes, yet now sat with an air of newfound resolve. "And if that signifies this flight is delayed by 10 minutes, he declared, then I shall embrace each of those moments with unwavering pride." With a decisive click, he silenced the mic, and the cabin, already steeped in anticipation, erupted into a fervent applause. Softly resonant, effortlessly genuine. It commenced with a solitary pair of hands, swiftly followed by another and then yet another, until with a sweeping grace it surged forth row by row, section by section, like an unstoppable wave crashing upon the shore. John stood resolute, his hand unmoving, his head held high. He remained there motionless, shrouded in silence, a presence acknowledged. Emily delicately brushed away a tear from the corner of her eye, and for the first time in years a flicker of belief ignited within her, rekindling a truth she had nearly lost to the shadows of time. Honor remained steadfast, biding its time until the perfect moment to ascend once more. As the clock struck noon, the plane gracefully descended, touching down in the charming embrace of Annapolis, Maryland. The wheels caressed the runway, releasing a soft melodic hum that echoed through the air. Sunlight poured through the windows, a gentle benediction illuminating the room. As the passengers collected their belongings and rose from their seats, John Delaney lingered in 1A, his hands poised serenely on his knees. He moved with an unhurried grace. At last he experienced a moment where he was not lost to the shadows of oblivion. As the flight crew expressed their gratitude at the door, their words resonated with genuine sincerity far beyond mere routine. As Emily Hayes glided past him on the jet bridge, she lightly brushed his shoulder and murmured, "You reminded us all of who we are meant to be." There she stood, his granddaughter, poised by the baggage claim, her midshipman uniform impeccably pressed, clutching a handmade sign that proclaimed, "Welcome, Grandpa John." As her eyes fell upon him, limping closer with each agonizing step, she let the sign slip from her grasp and fled in a whirlwind of panic. He stood unprepared. He allowed her to embrace him with all her might, as if a mighty wave were crashing against a steadfast seawall. "Your knee," she cried, recoiling in shock. With a wry smile, he declared, "I've faced far worse." And for the first time in ages, the smile radiated with a brilliance that illuminated his very eyes. They lingered for hours that fateful afternoon. He inquired about her academic pursuits, her assignment aboard the ship, and her aspirations following her commissioning. She inquired about the events that had unfolded during the flight, her mind swirling with confusion from the barrage of texts and news alerts that had begun to surface. John embraced simplicity with unwavering resolve. "I found myself in a most unfortunate seat," he lamented as someone rose to their feet. With a subtle yet profound nod, she acknowledged the moment. Yet as the night deepened, she stumbled upon the video circulating online, the very one capturing Captain Miller's impassioned speech over the intercom. Tears streamed down her face, and in a moment of overwhelming emotion, she embraced him once more, holding on as if to never let go. The following week, a letter arrived for John, nestled within the folds of the mail. Transcontinental Airlines has issued a formal apology accompanied by a complete refund for the flight and a heartfelt card that reads, "Dear Mr. Delaney, as of today, you are honored with the designation of a lifetime guest of honor with Transcontinental Airlines. Say goodbye to booking codes and hidden fees. Simply share your destination with us. We shall guide you to your destination, TCA Veterans Council." With a deliberate motion, he folded the letter twice, placing it reverently beside the flag in his study, his silence echoing the weight of unspoken words. 2 weeks later, an envelope appeared at surface, adorned with a careful hand addressing hinting at secrets waiting to be unveiled. The emblem embossed in the corner proclaimed Department of the Army Office of Military Records. Within a brief yet poignant typed note awaits. His personnel file was reopened, the shadows of a public inquiry looming over it like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. A retired officer now immersed in the world of archiving had unearthed a long-neglected action report from the tumultuous days of Vietnam dating back to February 1968. Kaysan reported that Staff Sergeant John Delaney, with unwavering courage, single-handedly rescued 6 wounded Marines from a blazing vehicle, all while enduring the agony of a knee shattered by shrapnel and facing relentless enemy fire. The file lay shrouded in incompleteness, swallowed by the tumultuous chaos of that fateful year. At last it had been restored to its former glory. At the very bottom of the letter lay a signature bold and commanding: General James E. Lockhart. Accompanying it was a second sheet filled with handwritten words that beckoned for attention. John Afwam held the esteemed title of Corporal Turbo 3 within that very vehicle. Though you may not recognize my presence, I have been a silent witness to your life, observing you with unwavering attention each and every day since our paths first crossed. Your actions have granted me the gift of life. At long last, I have arrived home. I have created a family. I crafted a life, all because a Marine whose limp was more pronounced than my own steadfastly refused to release his grip. My heartfelt gratitude to you. You were never truly unseen. Not to us, General J. Lockhart, United States Marine Corps, Red. John lingered over that letter, the weight of it pressing down on him for what felt like an eternity. Only the stillness of silence and the rhythm of breath linger in the air. In a serene sanctuary tucked away in Richmond, Virginia, Emily Hayes's fingers danced across the keys of her laptop, weaving words into existence with unwavering determination. She spoke with unadorned honesty. She refrained from embellishing the truth. She recounted the tales that unfolded, the man summoned to shift his position, the captain who rose to the occasion, the hush that blossomed into a thunderous standing ovation. With a flourish, she submitted it to a regional publication. It was chosen, embraced by fate. The local news broadcasted it with fervor. Then the nation unfolds. As the week draws to a close, the salute at 32B had transformed into a sensational headline, a tale recited with fervor during the grand gatherings of the school, a proclamation boldly printed and affixed to the walls of 100 VFW halls. The image captures John in seat 1A, his head bowed in a moment of quiet contemplation. The sunlight cascading softly upon his weathered hands transformed into a poignant symbol of resilience, not for the sake of fame, but for the enduring echoes of remembrance. After that moment, John Delaney remained largely unchanged, resided in the very same modest dwelling in Rock Springs. He continued to savor his coffee in its purest form, black as the night. Each morning, despite the pain that gnawed at him, he bravely limped to the mailbox, a testament to his unwavering spirit. Yet an undeniable transformation had taken root within him. He lifted his head ever so slightly as he strode forward. He stood resolute, unyielding as strangers drew near. In those fleeting moments as he perched upon the porch at twilight, his gaze fixed on the sun's descent behind the rolling hills, a smile graced his lips. Not out of pride, but because for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he had finally been truly seen. Not every sacrifice is adorned with medals. Not every conflict concludes with the fluttering of flags. Yet at times a single voice can rise above the silence to declare we remember. And when that moment arrives, a seat transforms into something far greater than mere furniture. It transforms into something hallowed, a revival of dignity, a restoration of honor, a journey back to home. Even in the depths of despair, the light of kindness perseveres, illuminating the shadows that threaten to engulf us. It is frequently in the most hushed corners of existence. Not all who lend a hand seek the spotlight. Some simply require the assurance that today somewhere a soul is not facing the pangs of hunger, and at times that singular truth possesses the power to transform a life forever. Though the tale may fade from memory if it remains untold, history shall echo in silence for eternity. Join us at Great Man, a realm where justice reigns supreme, kindness is eternally cherished, and every whisper of quiet heroism echoes through time, never to be forgotten.